welcome to today's Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself, Annie Jose from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Gabrielle Ximena Barragan. She is a breast cancer survivor. So welcome to today's session, Gabrielle. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Annie.
That's great. So may I know what? So you had breast cancer. So what were the initial symptoms? How was it diagnosed?
I actually didn't have any symptoms. It was a day that I was showering, and after self-examination, I felt a very small lump in my right breast, and that's the reason why I decided to schedule a mammogram, because it was about that time of year that I needed my yearly checkup. So I went for a mammogram, and then they called me after seeing the results, and they mentioned that I should that they recommended for me to have an ultrasound with biopsy, and they did the biopsy. And then that was February 18th. I hadn't heard anything from the doctor, so I assumed that everything was well.
So how was your emotional well-being when you realized that you were having cancer?
Well, this was in 2020. That's 2 years ago, and it was at the very beginning of the pandemic. So I remember it was March 18th that I had a doctor's appointment, and I had my blood work done. So we were gonna go over with my blood work. So the doctor sent me an email and told me that not to go to her office. Instead, that she would call me at the end of the day. And I found out about 8:30, 8:45 at night at the beginning of the pandemic on March 18th. I was, I don't know if I was in shock, but I was in disbelief what I was hearing. And I just stayed quiet when I heard her telling me that I had breast cancer. So she told me that I had to go and see an oncologist, and she was just going over all these things. But I really couldn't focus on what she was talking. I was immersed in the words, in my own thoughts on the words that she had mentioned before. So it took me a while to go through those emotions.
So what about your family? How did they took the news?
Well, the first person that I reached out to was my sister, and she was in shock. She was I was many thousand miles away, and when I mentioned that I had just spoken to the doctor on the phone, she was totally in shock, and she just gave me some pointers as far as, she had some friends that had breast cancer, so gave me some phone numbers. And then we have a neurosurgeon in our family. She recommended that I should reach out to him, and it took me a while to tell my parents that I was diagnosed with cancer, because the whole world was going through the pandemic. So it was just another stress that I had to put on top of everybody's stresses, my family's stresses. So
what all treatment you underwent for the cancer?
What type of treatment?
Yes.
I went through a TCHP. So at first I had chemotherapy. I had six sessions of TCHP once every 3 weeks. Then, I'm sure that we all know what TCHP, but it's Taxotere, carboplatin, Herceptin, and Perjeta. So once every 3 weeks, I was given the infusion. Then I had also Neulasta, 6 treatments, once every 3 weeks. When I was done with that, I had my lumpectomy surgery, and that was in October. And then I had radiation, 16 treatments, and I also had Herceptin, 18 treatments for a full year, once every 3 weeks. So it was a long journey, because I had to go through treatments and through infusion for a year. So I had to visit the hospital, and back then you couldn't bring anybody because of COVID. So of course my journey in going to the hospital, that portion, I did it by myself. Nobody came with me. So that was a full year that I had to go through that.
Did you try any alternative treatments like naturopathy or anything like that?
No, I didn't try any other alternative treatments, because after reading so much about the type of tumor that I had, I realized, and I was okay with the terms of chemotherapy. So I knew that chemotherapy from the very beginning was going to save my life, and I was ready to go through that process. Even though, and because of the circumstances, all those who we were blessed, and we were perhaps with the right doctors, and also at the right place with the hospital that was open, because there was a lot of people who went through breast cancer or any type of cancer, and hospitals were not receiving new clients. So, but I was lucky enough to be at a hospital that was going about things with patients. And so even though they had changed the treatment, as far as maybe surgery could have been the first thing, and different circumstances with me, and because of the circumstances and the type of tumor I had, the most important thing was to reduce the size of the tumor. And so I had chemotherapy first, and then the rest of the treatments that I had mentioned earlier.
All right. So who was your support system throughout the cancer journey?
For me, it was important, and I'm a firm believer that nothing can be done alone. So it was important to have a support group. What I first did was I created a chat through WhatsApp with friends and family, the closest friends that I had, so they could give me the support that I needed and the push that I needed when I was I didn't know how I was going to feel through the process, but I wanted to make sure that I had also a diary of what I was going through, and for them to be able to read everything. And whenever I was feeling down, or I was going through tough moments, for them to push me, through those difficult times. So a WhatsApp group was my support a group. I had about 18 people, and then my parents that decided to stay here with me, and my siblings. So I was lucky that I had a very large support team of friends and family members that wanted to walk this walk with me. One of the most important things is to have people with you. This type of journey is something that I don't wish for anybody to do it alone.
Right. Yeah. So what will be your message to survivors and caregivers out?
As far as a support group, it is of most importance to have one, whether it is one person, whether it is a group of people, whether it is a partner, and if there are people that cannot walk with you the journey of cancer, any type of cancer, I think it's important to stay away from those people because not everybody can accept things. Not everybody is willing to be by you in moments that may be difficult, and these moments can be difficult for others for various reasons. So we also have to be empathetic about that and be with the people that can walk the walk with us, that can be there for us, that can be a positive, that can be encouraging. We must leave all negativity away, aside, from us and from the circumstances that we live in when we go through cancer.
Right. So how was your experience with the doctors and the other medical staff?
I was blessed. I was at the best hospital that anybody can ask for. I was not initially diagnosed at Miami Cancer Institute, but when I went for a second, third, and fourth opinion, and then I got to Miami Cancer Institute. It had just been open for 3 years, and it's part of the Baptist Health Hospital group. So there's the first surgeon oncologist that I met, Jane Mendez. She was my inspiration, and she was the reason why I decided that I wanted to be treated there. The whole team of doctors and nurses, the whole staff that was there for me during and after, and the hospital was my safe haven. I never felt that I was alone, even though nobody in my family could go with me to the hospital for my treatments, but I never felt alone. So that also helped me a lot, and it was part of my support group, if you can call it.
Got it. So what were the things that made you happy on this journey?
I think that's it can be a catchy question, but I had to think about that. I was the one who found the lump on my breast, and I was the one that found that there was no lump on my breast. So after the second chemotherapy that I had, after the second session, and when I didn't feel the lump, I reached out to my oncologist, and Dr. Garrido, my medical oncologist, she needed for me to come in for a consultation. So I went in because she just couldn't believe that I was saying that there was no lump. And I was almost ready for my third chemo session, and because the side effects of chemotherapy in my body were so strong, she said, well, we could do a few things. Let me lower the dosage of your next treatment, my third treatment. And I said, no, I don't want you to lower my dosage of the chemotherapy. What I want you to do is I want you to make sure that I get an MRI. And she says, usually, Gabrielle, we don't do any type of testing until we're done with the whole treatment, and you still have 4 sessions to go. I said, I need to have one now. So Dr. Garrido and I, we got to an agreement, and she says, okay, I'll let you go for an ultrasound. And after we see the results, then, but we can do this only after your third session. So when I went through my ultrasound, and the technician, of course, they can't tell you anything, but she was asked to do a second ultrasound because they couldn't find anything. So when I left that day, I just I cried so much. That was the first time that I cried, and I couldn't stop crying because I knew that my body had totally dissolved the tumor. And of course it was with the help of chemotherapy in my case. That was a happy moment for me. That was my very first happy moment. And then I also had a couple more, you know, when they double check and they verify with an MRI that there was no tumor, where once upon a time was a tumor. And then when I went through lumpectomy, and then the biopsy results came in, and the results all said benign, because the mass that they took away from my right breast. I'm sorry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Wasn't there anymore, and you know, the tumor wasn't there anymore, but the mass that they took and then and went through the biopsy, the results were benign. So that was another happy moment. And it was a happy moment every time that I finish a treatment, you know, the chemotherapy treatment, when my surgery was so successful because they had to reconstruct half of my right breast, when I finished radiation, and when I finished my year treatment, which was the longest treatment. So all those were happy moments.
That's good. So, did you make any lifestyle changes during or after the treatment?
Well, for the most part of my life, I've always ate lean and clean. So that's something that I didn't have to worry about. You know, a lot of survivors have to make adjustments on their diet, but I didn't. I've always ate a lot of vegetables, and I ate a lot of fruits. However, one thing I did was I stopped with dairy products. I didn't drink milk in the past, before cancer, and after cancer, I cut down on cheese, and I stay away from eggs and milk, especially, you know, all dairy products. So that's one thing that I made adjustments with my diet. And I also incorporated exercise, you know, a lot more exercise. I do paddling with a team of women survivors, breast cancer survivors. I paddle with them 3 times a week. And I also paddle with another team, which is a mixed team, the other 3 times of the week. And I started doing this after I finished all my treatments. So those had been adjustments that I've done. Nothing radical, but I also think it's important to lower the stress around you is imperative. As a cancer survivor, one needs to make sure that you live a life with as little stress as possible, even though that's quite it's not possible because of life. You know, life is complicated. But I believe that if one has the right attitude, and one is always upbeat and smiling and being positive, is something that helps us not to go again through body stresses. You know, we can't stress the body. We have to make sure that we sleep enough hours when we're tired, because of the side effects of all the treatments that we go through. Still today, you know, I during the days, there are days that I feel very tired, so I let my body dictate what it wants and what it needs, especially what it needs. So I think that's something really important that we all should consider after going through cancer.
That's right. So I'm pretty sure that cancer has changed you in a positive way. So what life lessons you got from your cancer journey?
Well, all the tough experiences that I went through changed me. Yes, having gone through breast cancer gave me the push to smile and laugh much more than before, and the desire to live at all times with a smile on my face rather than a frown on my face. Most importantly, I learned to accept things and not give anything more importance than I should. So when I see someone having a bad day, I think it's best that I smile at that person. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's been, let's see, a couple years that I'm already on this journey, when this journey started. So being a survivor, I think at the same time we are warriors. Things could happen in the future. Things could not happen. I think that we need to live every day with the same intensity and passion for life, because that helps us move forward and leave the disease behind.
Right. So there are various types of negativity regarding cancer all around the world. So what do you think about all those negative thinkings regarding various types of cancer, and how much do you think is the importance of awareness to the public?
Well, stigmas need to disappear. Just because we went through breast cancer, just because we are cancer survivors, that doesn't mean that we are less or more than anyone. We all are unique in our ways, whether we go through a cancer journey or not. And we must continue to educate others by starting a conversation about cancer. And so when we feel strong enough to go back in the world and we have to rebuild our lives, we must do all sorts of activities so we can have a full life. And we must talk about the journey. It's going to help at least one person. And by doing that, making them aware that a disease does not define us. The disease never defines us. The fact that we overcame or we are battling when we're going through this journey, it never defines us. And we must continue to be advocates. As breast cancer survivors, we must help others by reminding them to be preventative, by getting checked regularly, and if diagnosed, to educate oneself and help oneself by always being proud of the strength of our bodies and thanking our bodies for all they have gone through to get treated, to be cancer-free.
That's nice. So one last question, Gabrielle. So if you have to sum up your journey in one sentence, what would that be?
Never to be afraid. Have the right attitude, and always have faith and believe that you have been chosen, because you can change someone else's life by sharing your story.
That was great. So thank you so much, Gabrielle. So thanks for the wonderful session. And I'm sure that this session will really motivate people out there who is currently going through cancer and who has been through the cancer journey. Thank you so much once again.